October 26th, 2011, Rob had a really big meeting up at the specialist, basically to see what would be the next steps. He'd had lots of chemo, lots of treatment, and a failed stem cell transplant. And we knew this was a big day. We knew there was a big, you know, hopefully the next part of our journey was going to go on there, and we wanted to be together for that. So my parents and him were up at the doctor's. They came back. I was travelling down to their house, my parents' house, to just see the family after this meeting. And I was standing in my local co-op, and the phone went, and it was my mum. And she just went, "Where are you? You need to get home now." And I knew in the tone of her voice, I knew what the day was. I knew just from the way she said that Rob was dying. I have no fucking clue whether I bought the stuff I was in there for. I got home and I can remember it so vividly. I walked in, front door, second door into my mum and dad's house, opens up into the living room. My brother sat in the chair, and I literally time slowed down and I walked towards him, took about 5 steps, and I'm standing in the middle of my mum and dad's living room, and my brother looked at me and just went, "There's nothing more they can do, I'm dying." And like your whole heart just gets ripped down in that instant, and everything that's been going on that year just sort of finalizes at that point. And yeah, I just remember he was so pissed off, and he was so just like, yeah, angry at the world.
Did you do anything to like mentally prepare for it? Is there anything anyone can do?
I definitely didn't mentally prepare for it. You learn so much after the fact. Like if something happened now, obviously everything would be so different. You'd behave in so many different ways. But in the moment, it's such a whirlwind. Like you can't prepare the mental state, the physical state of someone saying you're dying or your brother's dying. So were we mentally ready? No, I don't think you ever are. You're just taking in every moment, knowing that time is short, and you're aware there's a ticking clock, but I still don't think, you know, I soaked up everything. I don't think I took everything in or acted in a way I would want to act, because you're trying to process way too much. You know, in retrospect, I try and be kind to myself. I was a young, stupid boy trying to deal with that huge news, but I definitely wasn't prepared, and the day itself happened very quickly. You know, the terminal diagnosis went from months to weeks very quick, and a short amount of weeks very quickly. So that was really difficult. So no, I don't think I prepared. I don't think I was ready for it when it happened.
How did you cope with his death?
Fucking badly. I was not in a good state from the moment he was diagnosed all the way through. I was living a unhealthy lifestyle. I was working in bars, managing bars, overworking and over drinking and over partying. Yeah, hindsight of knowledge is a really annoying thing that can eat you up. Yeah, I did not cover myself in glory that year. I did not act the way I wanted to act or would want to act ever going forwards. Yeah, I hurt people I shouldn't have hurt, and I acted in ways I shouldn't have acted, but you can only control what you do moving forward. So after his death, thankfully, during that later part, and after his death, I met my now wife, who sorted me right out and put up with a lot of shit to deal with me and my stuff that was going on, but she pulled me out of it. So after his death, I had someone there that I could, you know, I could rely on, and she got me into grief counselling, and that made a huge difference, just having someone completely third party that I could talk to. I only did 6 weeks of grief counselling, but from going in and just crying for an hour in the first session to at the end of 6 weeks, just talking and just having a chat and feeling like I was in a completely different mental state was life-changing for me. So I didn't cope with diagnosis, I didn't cope with the whole trauma of the year, I didn't deal with his death very well, but the grieving process was helped massively by having a support network and professionals that I could speak to. So, yeah.
Do you feel like you got to say everything that you wanted to say?
That's hard. Do I feel like I try not to have too many regrets, because regrets will eat you up and it's so hard. And like I said, I was a young stupid boy and my brother was dying. So do I remember asking him all the questions I wanted to ask him? No. And it annoys me now. I don't know what his favourite colour was. I'm sure my mum knows, but I can't remember it. You know, I can't remember all those little bits that just make up a person. Do you know what I mean? So did I ask him everything I wanted to ask him? Did I say everything I wanted to say? There's an overwhelming feeling of contentness on, you know, he knew how we felt. We had tough conversations, look after each other, look after mum and dad, you know, we love you, all of those, you know, it was that baseline. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that, I'm set. He knew we were all there at the end. He knew what we felt. We said what we said. I didn't say much on, you know, when he was dying on the actual active bit, but I'd said everything I needed to say. Like I said, he knew my eulogy. He knew what we were going to joke about and how we were going to remember him. He'd written a letter to the family. He'd told us his wishes. So, you know, the big stuff was sorted. It's the little things that get you. Those little things you can't remember. That is annoying.
If you could go back 10 years now after your brother died, it's a bit abstract this, but is there anything that you would say to yourself or tell yourself in that moment?
Stop being such a dick. Just because you're grieving doesn't give you a right to be a complete knob. Yeah, tough. I would say seek help earlier. I would say you won't find anything at the bottom of a bottle or on those endless nights out trying to drown your sorrows and forget what's going on in reality, because you can't escape it. So that's what I would say to my former self. Stop, breathe, actually try and deal with your emotions and find some healthy coping mechanisms. And professional help is a really, really good way to do that, because if you're lost and if you're in a whirlwind and you don't know how to get out of it, you're probably not going to be able to navigate your way out of it. You probably need someone to guide you through it.
Do you still cry about him, or do you remember the last time you did and what triggered it?
Last time I had a proper cry about Rob was on his birthday this year, actually. And it hasn't hit me too much over the last few years. I think just because we've got a young family and the days are different, the anniversaries have felt different. But this year, I was feeling a bit sad, and my daughter, who's 3 at this point, comes down and sits next to me and goes, "Daddy, why are you sad?" And I told her, I talk about Uncle Rob, and she knows about Uncle Rob, and that she's never met him and whatnot. But she knows about him, and we talk about him. And she just went, "Daddy, I think Uncle Robin would be my friend." And I just absolutely bawled, which is really awkward because I just cried at my 3-year-old a lot. But I was like, yeah, Pickle, you would. He'd love you, because all Rob wanted to be was a dad. So, yeah, that's tough as the kids get older and they understand. That's tough. So that was the last time I properly cried, and it gets me every time I think about it. So, but it's little things. Just the other day, I was just washing up. I love washing up. And And my wife was in bed and I was bored, and I called a couple of people and they didn't answer. And I just went to call my brother, and I thought, fucking hell, 10 years later, it's still my go-to. And that gets me every time, because that was our thing. We just chat all the time, because, you know, you just chat bollocks literally whenever. Call each other up. How's your day? What's going on? What are you up to? So yeah, just little things like that get you. Even all these years later, just, yeah, had a little tear as I was washing up. But yeah, sometimes it's the big things, sometimes it's the little things.
How has your grief changed over the years?
I don't know if my grief has changed. I contemplate this quite a lot. I don't know if it has. You know, your grief is there, and when you're, you know, at the beginning, you're just this tiny part of it. But as life and time goes on, little things grow around it, right? But the grief is still the same size. The grief is still there. It's still as raw and big as it ever has been. You know, if I think about it too hard and too long, I'm still there, my heart still hurts, and I want to cry my eyes out and I want to forget the world for a bit. But then, like, my kids potter in and I'm super happy. Or, you know, someone calls me and, you know, has a chat about something completely different, and, you know, that little bit of joy's in your life. And there's a lot of positives that just outweigh this negative that's always there, but it's always there. And when you have your dark days or your down days, or anniversaries roll round, or, you know, you just, one of those little things that catches you off guard, you're still right there and it's still the same. And your grief is still as raw and poignant as it was 10 years ago.
What advice, what's your best advice for someone grieving?
Best advice for someone grieving? Just be kind to yourself. Like, it's fucking shit and it's really hard and you're not prepared for it as a human whatsoever. And everyone deals with it completely differently. I was very destructive and, you know, wanted to not face up to anything. I can't say that's how everyone's going to deal with it, but, you know, don't beat yourself up about every little thing. It's hard enough. If you can, if you have the ability to, I would say try and seek some professional help with dealing with those and having healthy coping mechanisms, because they are just going to do you really good for the rest of your life. Just find someone you can talk to, find someone you can share your pain with that will listen. And I suppose advice for anyone supporting someone grieving would be listen, but just listen. That's it, listen. You don't have to give advice, you don't have to fix anything, you don't have to enable any bad behaviours, you don't have to, you know, wallow or anything. You can just listen, just be there. That's it. Just be a human, be someone that can, just someone can be around, and let people lead a conversation. Some people, and sometimes you flip-flop on this, sometimes you want to talk, sometimes you just want to sit and watch shit TV. Sometimes you want to cry, sometimes you really want to go and laugh. Sometimes you want to, you know, just go bowling or eat some food and just be normal. But other times you might want to just cry and eat ice cream, and all of that is okay. As long as it's not hurting yourself or someone else, then just be there for them.
Has setting up the Robin Cancer Trust help you process and grieve your brother's death?
Yeah, it's absolutely helped me in my process. I think it's been pivotal to my process. As much as getting help when I needed help was vital, this has been sort of what I've ploughed a lot of emotion, a lot of time, a lot of myself into. And it's been life-saving in giving me that focus, giving me something to get up and do in the morning. I always say, no matter how I'm feeling, if I can feel really low, I can feel like I'm really struggling, but even if I send one email, do one good thing, help one person, then I feel a lot better about myself. And yeah, it's just been what I've focused a lot of my energy into over the years. So I think without it, I would have been a lot more lost. And I love waking up in the morning and having purpose and loving my job and it not feeling like a chore, and all the amazing things I get to do and all the people I get to meet. has, yeah, really helped shape who I am, who I want to be, and what I want to be doing. So
what do you think your brother would say to you now, or would be thinking of you now after everything that you've done?
I genuinely think he'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? such a knob for the majority of when he was alive, which I feel really bad about. But it's odd. The more, like I said, he was such an old soul. The more I'm becoming I'm old before my time now. You know, I'm a dad, and I love dad jokes, and I love crap dancing in the kitchen, and I don't love going out anymore, and I love, you know, my little bubble. And I just think Rob would be like, oh, yep, you finally caught up. You sort of moulded into me at this point. But in the most positive ways. I think he'd, yeah, I joke around it because I don't want to cry on camera again, but he'd be incredibly proud. I know he would be. It's weird because I've got everything I know he wanted, which is tough, but that makes it all the more special that, you know, I've gone from being a complete tit to being able to have all that, and I'm very grateful for it. So he would, yeah, he'd be flabbergasted that I managed it, I think, but he'd be a very proud older brother.